Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Korra show. I've actually never called this that, but it makes me seem more important, so fuck it. Now, with episode 7, we are past the midway mark for this season. This season has 13 episodes. Old Wounds, episode 6, is a story about how Toph had a very tough choice, pun intended, because she had two daughters that had very different ways of viewing life. I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but to me, Sue seems to be kind of like on the liberal side of things, and Lynn seems to be on the more conservative side. So, as the United States Congress has taught us, when you have a conservative and a liberal under the same roof and you want them to get along, your best solution is to jump in front of a train. Or you can try what Toph did, which was to separate both of them and hope that one day both of them would reach a level of maturity that would allow them to, if not see eye to eye with each other, at least be in friendly terms with each other, which is what happens in this episode. In other news, Korra is learning to metal bend, which I call bullshit if Aang never learned to metal bend, especially having Toph around. You don't miss out on that opportunity. But, and then, Bolin turns out that he was insecure about learning, because he said that apparently only 1 in 100 earthbenders can master the technique. But I thought to myself, well, before Toph invented it, that was 0 in 100. Meanwhile, Sahir and his group are on the move, and they let the armless chick drive. I like how they used acupuncture as a plot device to trigger memory. And the way the guy bends the needles, it reminds me of telekinesis. It looks really nice. And speaking of bending, that fight between Lin and Sue, Bolin said, oh, it's just two siblings fighting. Let them sort it out. But these girls were not fucking around. Like, they were sending tiles, metal tiles at each other. Like, there's this one part where Sue, like, bends the wall to fucking cover herself and then slam the shit out of Lin. And then Lin is actually, she detaches part of the freaking stairs to throw at her sister. But thematically, this season is called Change for a very, very strong reason. We've seen things that are so out of the norm and so politically advanced for what we got in The Last Airbender. For example, we've seen a violent airbender, okay? Second, we've seen a dysfunctional monarchy when it comes to the Earth Kingdom, and we've seen a corrupt queen. In this episode, we have two sisters that had previously grown apart come together, and one of the things that Sue just keeps telling Lin is, I've changed. I am not the same person anymore. So, check mark on the change. And it is through that change that Sue allows Opal to leave her side, because opposite of Toph, okay, she was too overbearing. She was too protective of her daughter. And Lin also changes because she learns to open up about stuff that she doesn't really feel comfortable talking about. She acknowledges that she became what she thought her mother wanted her to be. And it turns out that didn't make her happy. So, stay in school, kids. And to end the episode, it turns out Sahir is a sensory type ninja. I mean airbender. There you go, airbenders. There's your power boost. I'm also interested in seeing what Varric's new Magneto suit will allow him to do. Like, if he can manipulate magnetic waves, he could probably fly in the City of Metal. Episode 7, titled The Original Airbenders Because of the Sky Bison, shows us that Sahir is not the only airbender that can be abusive. It's hard to decide. Like, what sucks more? Tenzin's verbal abuse or Milo's watermelons? For about 3/4 of this entire episode, I was just watching the screen thinking like, are you serious? Like, are they really going this way with Tenzin? Do we really need some character regression? Because, okay, in the beginning of the episode, Korra gives him some pretty legitimate advice, which is a complete 180 from the Korra that we've gotten to know thus far. To the point where I'm like, where did this come from? Holy shit. But then the way that Tenzin goes on and applies Korra's advice, it felt like they were trying really hard to be funny, especially with Boomy. So I was initially going to say that this episode was the weakest, has been the weakest of this entire book, book 3. But then that fight at the end came, and it's like, this season, even the episodes that you think are average or not that good have something good to offer. I'll give you an example. The guy that got his head shaven, okay? They try to pull a joke with Tenzin saying, oh, Shaving your head is optional. Haha, it was funny. And I thought they were just going to leave it at that. Turns out he uses his baldness to be more in tune with the air around him so that he can sense things. And that makes dodging easier for airbenders. I love that. There's also a comment done by Tenzin during his boot camp in which he states that airbenders can warm themselves. Now, I don't know if he made that up on the spot just to convince the rest of them, but he says that airbenders can warm themselves with a proper breathing technique. Speaking about interesting comments, turns out that the Earth Queen ended up eating Bosco, the Earth King's bear. So she's not only allergic to furry animals, but she also likes to eat them, which is kind of ironic because she is a female dog. This episode also made it obvious that eventually we're going to have to learn more about Guru Lahima. It's obvious now. I mean, we understand him, we understand Sahir's motivation. Or at least we kind of get acquainted with why he's obsessed with this guru. So, looking forward to that. And then finally, the guy with the glasses that was raising his hand in the beginning of this episode was called Otaku. What a coincidence. I thought both episodes were good, episode 7 being the weakest of the two. So I'm going to say that episode 7 was okay in my opinion. Episode 6, love Toph. Thank you so much for watching, liking the review if you did, subscribing to my channel. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks guys.